Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm doing a massive tropical tree update. I'm going to go through each one of my tropical trees and show you the current status of them, for good or for bad. I'll be taking my tropical trees out and putting them one at a time on the turntable here, and we'll have a look at them and maybe do any minor adjustments if they need it. The first tree I have out is my dwarf Schefflera, and you can see this side of the tree is facing the windows and gets the sunlight, and you can see the growth is stronger on this side, and this side of the tree is under the grow lights, and the grow light is quite high above the table, so the growth here is a little weaker. Maybe if I brought the light down lower, I would get better growth on this side, but you can see the difference. You know, the sunlight is definitely the best light for the tree. However, it looks healthy, it's doing well, it's not growing too wildly out of control at the moment. So I think it's ready for spring. Today I'll just give it a good watering with some fertilizer mixed in my water. And I think that'll be it. I don't think there's any cleanup much to do on it. There is a little bit of debris that's fallen down from the branches. Some of these stubs of the leaves that I removed when I leaf pruned it. And top pruned it. So I'll just pick those out. I'm going to give the tree a good watering now, and I've mixed some fertilizer in with the water. So it's a bit of 20-20-20 mixed in, and it's just sort of a pinch of fertilizer. So a very, very weak solution. And I give that to the tree every time I water it. I do have a video on watering bonsai. If you type in watering bonsai in YouTube, you'll see it come up. And it shows how I water my trees and how I fertilize them. I call these spa days for my trees, where I get them off the bench and I get them on the turntable so you can rotate them around. And I give them a really good thorough watering and fertilizer, inspection, and a cleanup and, you know, maybe a light pruning. Just to get them really good, pamper them for a day. My Schefflera was quite dry, so I'm watering it in stages. I water the moss, let it soak in, give it another application, and I'll keep watering until the water starts coming out the drainage holes, which is starting to do now. So I'll just give it one more watering, and you got to water all over and all around the pot to make sure everything gets, all the soil gets nicely soaked. Otherwise, you know, you'll get dry spots in your soil and the roots could die in that area. So proper watering is really important. There, it's coming out the drainage holes really nicely now. All over my floor too, but I'll clean that up. I did a calculation on my other tree, my Ficus, my very first bonsai. It's 28 years old, and if I water it once a day, I've watered that tree over 10,000 times. And I know I water it more than once a day. In the summer, sometimes 3 times a day. So I would say a more accurate estimate would be 15 to 20,000 times I've watered that tree. So you kind of get pretty good at watering after a while. You know, practice makes perfect. I'm looking at the tree from the front now, just seeing if it needs any pruning to kind of equalize the vigor on the tree. I don't think it does. It looks quite even to me. I mean, the area over here that's in the sun is a little more vigorous, but it's only a few leaves. It's not, you know, there's no shoots sticking out of the profile really wildly that I need to prune back. So I think this tree can go back on the bench. I've given it a good thorough watering, fertilizer. I inspected it for insects, inspected it for overall health and vigor. Everything's looking good with it. I'll put the tree back on the bench, and when I do, I'll turn it around so the side that was facing the window will be more towards the grow light, and the side that was under the grow light will be facing the window. So that should kind of help equalize the growth a bit. The next tree I have out is my Pink Pixie Bougainvillea bonsai. So it's growing in really, really dense up top. You can't, I'll show you a top view where you're looking down at it, and you can't even see the branch structure. It's so, the leaves are growing in so well that it's just super dense. So I've got to fix that. Otherwise, I mean, it's growing really well. It looks healthy. I don't see any insect problems with it. Yeah, everything's looking good. It looks like it's well watered. Yeah, so I'll show you that top view. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this. So there's a look down at the top, and you can see in this area, it's just leaves upon leaves upon leaves. Very, very dense. So you can't see any of the branch structure. So I can do a little bit of work in this area. You can also see it's gaining vigor. All these shoots are growing in really well. So I think I can knock back the vigor a bit by taking off some of the larger leaves, doing a little thinning. Maybe the leaves that are pointing in towards the center of the tree can be removed to get a little light to some of these lower branches. Just kind of even out the balance of the foliage. All right, I'll come in with the pruners. And so my plan of action, I think I've got to remove some of the larger leaves. They're just too large and they're blocking out all the light. And, you know, this branch, there's nothing underneath it, but there is branches down here, and the leaves up here are blocking light from getting down to these, you know, the layers of branches below. So definitely have to do some leaf removal. Well, let's start. Let's start with some of the larger ones. These are the leaves that initially came in after it was pruned. I'm trying to think, did I defoliate this one? Let me go back and check. I reviewed the videos of my Pink Pixie Bougainvillea bonsai. So I brought the tree in fall where it lost almost all its leaves. I gave it a pruning, a structural pruning, and then it started growing back in, and it grew really well, and it got really dense up top. So I did thin it once. I removed all the leaves facing inwards on the tree. I gave it a lot of tip pruning, getting the vigor kind of balanced, getting light to my lower branches, and it's at that stage again where it needs more thinning. I think I'm going to start by removing those inward facing leaves. That'll open it up a bit. And hopefully I can see it a little easier, see the structure a little more easily, so I can give it a better pruning. Sure is dense up top here. It's hard to even find where these leaves originate from. It's so dense. I've had a lot of people ask me about my temple project. There were a lot of people who really liked the project, and then there were a lot of people who really disliked the project. You know, my whole purpose of my channel is just to show what I'm doing in bonsai. And sometimes it's pruning trees like this, and other times it's making, you know, structures to put the trees on, like my temple. And maybe it'll be 3D printed pot making. And I read all the comments on the channel, and you know, sometimes it doesn't matter how thick a skin you have, and that sometimes the comments get to you. It's not easy. Like, I've seen other YouTubers talk about this, and they say it's probably the only, you know, job or hobby in the world where everything you do gets criticized. And, you know, everything you do, well, I would have done it this way. And suggestions are helpful. I'm not saying they're not, but it can get to you, I guess. That, you know, there's some days maybe you feel like it doesn't matter what you do, you can't do the right thing. But I think, you know, you've just got to take the attitude that, you know, this is my channel. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm not here to please the entire population of the world. If you like what I'm doing, you'll follow the channel. If you don't like what you're doing, what I'm doing, then, you know, you'll follow someone else's channel or follow some other hobby. I guess I don't know what I'm saying, but anyway, Back to the temple. I will be getting back to making the temple. And, you know, even though I wasn't getting a lot of views of the temple, I've got to get it finished. And there were a lot of people who were really interested in the project, which was really nice to see. A lot of people weren't, and they let me know about it, but, you know, they don't have to watch the channel, I guess. I mean, it's not like I wasn't doing something bonsai related. Like, I can understand when I'm working on my trucks and that, well, maybe it's not for everyone. It's supposed to be a bonsai channel, or maybe it's not anymore. Maybe it's just my daily routine recorded on video. I don't know. But again, you know, you can't please everyone. We're back to the front view, and you can see this branch. It's quite a large branch, and it climbs skyward. And I don't want it, you know, competing for the apex of the tree. So I want to keep it kind of short and maybe a little more horizontal. There is a future branch at the back here. I'll probably prune off this entire front section and just keep this one at the side here. If you can see that right here, this will become the new branch leader. And this one here will get pruned off totally. But for now, I'm just going to keep the height of this branch down. So there's a couple of shoots. There's one sticking straight up here. I'll prune that back. Actually, I'm going to remove that. Like that. And there's another one here sticking up. And I'm going to prune it back to an outward facing shoot. Back to here. There's another one growing on the inside here, which I think I'll keep, because if I do remove this branch tip, I'll need this branch to be quite full and come forward. So I will remove this tip here. It's getting too tall, like that. And I think that one's okay. I'll move this leaf on the inside here. And I think that's got that one branch pruned up pretty well. It's not going to get any taller. It's kind of fanning outwards, and you can see all the structure, so it's getting light. So yeah, so I'll do that for the rest of the tree, just removing all those inward facing leaves, pruning back any really vigorous tips, thinning it out, and then we'll come back and have a look at it. Before I get too involved in the pruning, I'm going to give it a spray with soap and water. I've noticed quite a few aphids on it, so I want to get rid of that, let it soak in while I'm pruning it, and then I can rinse the tree off. So here I go. So I'm just getting underneath the leaves for starters. Like that. And then above the tree, get that all sprayed down. It's just like going to the car wash. Use the foaming brush. So this should take care of the aphids. They don't like soap and water at all. It kills them really quickly. I guess my ladybug didn't get over to this tree. So that should do it. That's good and soaked down. All these other leaves I've pruned off, I'll get those in a plastic bag so the aphids can't spread to other trees. And that should take care of the problem, at least for now. And again, if you notice a problem on your trees, treat it right away. The longer you wait, the bigger the problem gets, and you could start losing your trees. And I know from experience, I put off, you know, scale insects, removing them. You keep putting it off, and then you notice your tree's starting to decline in health. You start to remove all the scale insects, and it's too late. The tree gets so weak it dies. So it's best to take care of the problem when you first notice it. I've let the bougainvillea soak with the soap and water on it for a while, so now I'm going to give it a thorough rinsing. So here I go. And I'll make sure I wash all the soap out of the soil. Get all the leaves washed off. Get underneath the leaves here. And that should do it. That's pretty well rinsed off. Just like that. After spraying the tree down with soap and water and rinsing it, it's back to pruning. I finished the leaf pruning on my bougainvillea, so let's go above now and have a look down at it. I think you'll see a big difference in density. So there's looking down at it now. You can see all the branches. They're all getting light. Yeah, looks much better. The bougainvillea looks really nice. It's in the sunshine. Just beautiful. So I'll put that back on the bench. I think it's had its spa day for today. And we'll get out the next tree. The next tree for today is my Ficus Religiosa, the one I'm giving to Connor. In the last video, I gave it a good root pruning, repotted it into a new pot, new soil, and now it's leafing out, which is really good to see. Here's a look at the tree up close. So there's several sprouts here. There's 3. There's a couple over here. There's 3 on the apex here. And this branch, it looks like there's one coming out down below here. Nothing in this area, so maybe the top part of that branch has died. Oh, there's a shoot there. So it looks like the branch lived, and these buds are in really good positions to radiate outwards from the center of the tree. So everything's looking really good on this tree. I think Connor's going to get a good one. The next trees are my Norfolk Island Pine forest, and it too is starting to bud out after its last pruning. Here's a look at the top of the trees, and you can see there's a new shoot here. There's one developing here. That's a new shoot. There's one here coming. One down here, one here, one at the tip here. So it's just starting to bud out all over, which is really exciting to see. There is one little branch that died back here. I could prune that off. So I will do that. I don't know if you can see that. Like that. There's a few needles that have gone brown. Those are just old needles. That's perfectly normal. Yeah, so it looks like it's doing really well. It's growing in now. So we'll give it a good watering. All right, here I go with the water and fertilizer. Give it a nice thorough watering on this sunny day. So nice to see the sun out. There's so many rumors with these Norfolk Island pines on the internet. People saying, oh, you can't prune them or they'll die. You can't repot them. You can't root prune them or they'll die. And, you know, sometimes you just got to find out for yourself. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Try things, experiment, and you'll find that maybe, you know, there is good techniques for some of these trees. And you can make them into a nice bonsai. And I've seen some nice Norfolk Island Pine bonsai. So they can definitely be made into a bonsai. All right, that's a good watering. Oh, look at that sunshine on them. That's fantastic. I'll put the Norfolk Island Pines back on the bench and we'll get out the next tree. At the start of the video, I said I'd bring out each tree, even if it's doing poorly or if it's doing really well or somewhere in between. So let's get out some of the ones that are kind of borderline and we'll talk about them. I'm going to start with my Ficus Benjaminus. And I've always said that, you know, if the tree's growing really vigorously and it's healthy and you cut it back hard, like really hard, it's rare that you'll actually lose the tree. But, you know, the new growth may not come in where you want it and it's very unpredictable. You might lose large branches. But usually the tree lives in some form. And that's what's happened with my Ficus Benjaminus. The trees are living, but the results maybe not what I expected or what I wanted. My first Ficus Benjamina is my Fusion Ficus, or my FrankenFicus, the one where I grew a cutting of the tree over top of the remains of the tree after the top died in the cold. I did some hard pruning on it, and as you can see, the tree is still alive. Nearly every branch on the tree survived except for this one out front here. And I kind of wanted that one to live, but it didn't. It was too weak, I guess. So the one up top here, it's got shoots coming out off of this front one, which I really wanted. Something coming out in this area. So I've got a bud on the inside there. And I think there's one back here. This top branch, this one died back to here. There's a bud here coming out. This top branch died back to here. You can see there's several buds coming out from this place. This back branch did really well. The top of this one died, but there's all kinds of shoots down here. And all the other branches did quite well. I would say the hard pruning was about 95% successful. It did what I wanted to do. It allows me to lower the canopy on the tree to get a lower canopy. I've got all kinds of new branches coming out now that I can work with, and I can prune off all these tall ones that I didn't want. Here's an overall look at the tree. So I can now at least prune the canopy down to probably this level, which is really nice to build a canopy here. It'll display the trunk nicely. I'll get a nice umbrella canopy on it. I just wish this branch had lived out front, but that's okay. I can grow these branches out towards the front. It'll look fine. So that's the tree. I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. There's the back. I was really pleased the tree lived. It took a long time for all these shoots to come out. It just sat there dormant, and I wondered, oh, have I killed the tree? There was no signs of life on any of the branches. Some of the branch tips were starting to dry up, and I thought, you know, maybe I've done the wrong thing. I had this tree in dormancy in the basement, and you know, it was really vigorous after the summer, and I thought, okay, this is the perfect time to do this operation. The tree was full of vigor. It had a dormant period. I brought it up into the plant room, into the warmth, which will stimulate the new growth, and I cut it back hard. And in the end, I'm really glad I did. I'm getting the results that I wanted from the hard pruning. So the tree doesn't look like much now, but once it comes out in summer and all these branches develop and I start getting the canopy under control, I think it'll be a great tree in the future. For FrankenFicus's spa day today, I'm just going to give it a nice thorough watering, and there's some fertilizer in the water, and put it back on the bench. So here I go with the water. We'll just make sure it's thoroughly watered all over, again on this beautiful sunny day. So what I did with this tree was very risky, and you know, sometimes with bonsai you've got to take risks. So far I'm happy with the results. It was kind of scary there for a while when nothing was growing, but I think in the end it worked out really well. This tree takes a lot of water. It's in a big pot, which is just a seed tray pot. It's nothing fancy. It's just a double up seed tray it's in. Great pots for training trees. You know, it's the right proportions. They're cheap. And they're great for starting trees. Okay, that's a good thorough watering. Starting to run out the drainage holes. I can put it back on the bench and let it continue to grow. The next ficus I have out is my two little leaf ficus. My Ficus Benjamina, with the one with the little tiny leaves. And I gave it quite a pruning in the last video. And it's coming back into leaf now quite nicely. It's doing really well. It's a little, you know, thin at the moment, but you know, once summer comes, this will all fill out nicely. There is a few tips I could prune back here just to keep it compact. There's some good back budding on some of these branches, so I'll do that today. Up here in the apex, I've got a lot of shoots coming out. So I'm going to take the tip off here, like that. Some of these branches I'll cut back to here. This one back to here. So just some light pruning, just to keep the plant, you know, shaped so it doesn't get too sprawling, so it stays compact. That's about it. I kind of got it a little more compact. So a good watering with some fertilizer, and it can go back on the bench. All right, here I go with the water. Give it a nice soaking. So I'll be repotting this tree this summer when it's nice and hot and humid out. Repositioning it in the pot. This is the front of the tree and the front of the pot's this direction. I think the pot is fine, but I've got to do some root pruning, reorient the tree. And I think that should be good. I'm just going to let that water soak in for a bit. Like that. A little more. And then I'll give it another watering. A little dry. Let that soak in. And I'll just keep doing that until it starts running out the drainage holes. I think one more soaking and that is good. Yeah, so the tree is looking good. It'll need a lot of root work. But we can do that. All right, time to get out the next Ficus Benjamina. My next Ficus Benjamina is my root over temple planting. And this was probably my least successful of the hard prunings. However, it was successful. This tree kind of leans backwards a bit, and I didn't like that, so I was hoping to get more growth coming out the front. And so what happened is the entire top branch died off, and this side branch. So the only thing that lived was the one coming out front, which is the one I wanted. And it's just exploding in growth right now. So that's really good. I was a little sad to lose this back branch here, but you know, that's the way it goes. And I can develop the tree out the front, which is where I wanted it in the first place. So yeah, this is another example of results that, you know, I didn't expect the top to die. I didn't expect this branch to die back, but it did. But the tree lived. It's still alive. And there's plenty of branches. There's hundreds of branches, new ones here, that I can work with to develop the canopy in the future. So again, you know, a drastic operation. The tree didn't die, but the results weren't quite what I expected. But in the end, I'm still happy with the results. It did what I wanted. It reduced the height of the tree. It got branches coming out the front. I can shorten the tree. I can develop a nice canopy on it now. So yeah, that's the way it went. So today I'm just going to give it a nice watering. I'm not going to prune off all these dead branches yet. I'm quite sure they're dead, but you never know. I'm just going to leave it. You never know. Once this is growing even more vigorously, then maybe I'll come in and start pruning away all the dead branches. This tree has quite a well-developed root system, so I think the growth in the upper part of the tree will be quite rapid this summer as it catches up to the roots. Yeah, so I'll just give it a good watering today. Put it away. And again, this was another one that came out really slowly. I wondered, did I kill the entire tree? Is there any sign of life? And there wasn't for the longest time. And then suddenly it started growing and, you know, producing green shoots, which was quite a relief. The water is flowing out the drainage holes now. So I'll put my Ficus root over temple back on the bench and we'll get out the next tree. Here's the last of my Ficus Benjaminus that I pruned back. And this one was very successful. Pretty well every branch lived except maybe this one off to this side. So I've got a lot of new shoots in this area. So now I can prune down these tall top parts of the tree and grow it to this height, which I think will look much better. You know, a thick, powerful trunk and a lower canopy on the tree. It was starting to get too high and yeah, it wasn't looking very good. Even this branch got a lot of shoots coming out on it, better ones that I can prune it back. Yeah, so this branch here, I lost this one. Both areas of this branch have died. However, you know, there's lots of new sprouts in this area, new shoots that I can develop into branches. There's one up higher there. No shortage of new branches coming on the tree, which I can pick and choose the best ones and develop it into a really nice canopy. Once the shoots in this area get stronger, I will remove these upper two branches here, cutting them right back, developing this as the canopy. So again today, I'm just going to give it its spa day. I'm going to give it a nice thorough watering with fertilizer. So here I go. So I was really pleased with this tree. I think it recovered really nicely. It's going to be a good looking tree in the future. And again, this one will need repotting probably this summer also. It's been a while. I remember painting this pot up in a video. This is a plastic pot, and I painted it to look like an old weathered pot. Okay, that's coming out the drainage holes now. There's a look at the root base on it. Looking quite old and mature. The tropical tree updates will continue, but this will be my last tree for today. This is my Ficus Lyrata or Fiddly fig. I repotted this tree and gave it a root pruning, and now I'm starting to get a nice flare at the base of the tree. I'm getting a lot of taper from thick to thin on the trunk, which is really nice. I did prune this shoot back and nothing has developed on it yet, no new buds, but that will come. Up top though, I did get a lot of new growth. I'll show you that. Here's a look at the top of the tree. So I've got my trunk, I came up and I cut it here. I have two branches growing each side. And then I pruned those branches here. And this tree, I have it dividing from this one branch into two now. And this one, I pruned it also, but it only has a single shoot coming off of it. So it's still just one branch continuing to one more branch. But, you know, once I prune this, I'll probably get another shoot come out from down below. And I'm really happy with the progress on it. I've got a lot of new leaves that have just come out in the last couple of weeks. Giant leaves, which shows the tree is healthy. Yeah, so as this tree gets more and more leaves and branches on it, this leaf size will reduce and probably down to about this size. I don't expect it to get any smaller than this, but you know, that's a reasonable size for a large tree. So I really like this tree. I like the bark, I like the flare at the base of the tree, and I like the giant leaf size. I think it's really interesting, an interesting tree to grow as a bonsai. Maybe a crazy tree to grow as a bonsai. That's my last update for today, so stay tuned tomorrow and I'll continue all the updates on my tropical bonsai. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.